Good afternoon, Mr. Espinoza.
Good afternoon.
I wonder if you could explain to me this afternoon how grades are awarded here at Kugler Middle School.
Absolutely. Grades are awarded here at Kugler Middle School based on assessments. These assessments are tied to benchmarks and standards, or if you've been watching the news, the Common Core standards. That's what KMS is moving towards. That's what New Mexico is moving towards. So that being said, grades are given on common formative assessments that can include quizzes, tests, semester exams, projects, research papers, our composition notebooks in our core subject areas is something that is also assessed. Your child's teacher should be giving at least 2 grades per week, starting in the second 6 weeks. So we're currently in the second 6 weeks. So your child should be seeing at least 2 grades per week. Grades are not given on any items that we consider practice. So anything that's sent home is considered to be practice. So those kind of things we go over. So if your child is given, for example, 15 math problems that evening, then that goes home. And when it comes back the following day in that class, then the teacher will go over step by step all of those practice assignments. And the reason we do that is so that your child will have a good composition book with really good examples of how something is done correctly, whether that's English, science, math, social studies, or language arts. So those kind of things are the things that we grade and the things that we don't grade. Grades should be a reflection of what degree the student has mastered a benchmark or a standard over a semester. So some of my parents get a little panicked. They see a 6 weeks grade and go, oh my gosh, if my child has an F. In the old way of doing things, that would be an oh my gosh, my child has an F. But we understand that kids learn at different rates, and so we allow those students who struggled on a common formative assessment a chance to redo. And so they get that assessment feedback back from the teacher. They see that they've missed something, they can go back and study it, and then retake. We ask retakes be done until students hit 75% mastery. But however, if a student wants an A, they can retake that test until they hit the A mark. That sometimes can get a little cumbersome for my teachers, but by the end of semester, all of those grades should be reflected, graded and reflect in your child's grade and towards a semester grade. So every 6 weeks you get a progress report, a fancy progress report that tells you where your child is at that moment in time. The semester final grade, the S1 grade in Power School or Parent Portal, or the report card, that's the one that you really want to make happen. Our goal here at KMS is that we try to get everybody to a 75% or better. That's the way things are designed to happen on our campus. The idea behind that practice is before you got a grade, we really didn't know what the grade represented. We didn't know what it meant. You know, I got an A, my kid's doing great. Well, now, when you get a grade, if your child got an A, it should be a strong indication that your child is going to score above proficiency on the New Mexico standards-based assessment. So our grades should be a reflection of where that child is based on where the state believes they should be. So grades now mean something to us. Before, you know, if you got a science project on the volcano assignment, you know, the typical, can we make vinegar and soda to make a volcano erupt? That might have been considered a project grade that if your child didn't do, your child got an F. Well, that's one standard, one project that shouldn't be reflective of what the child knows. And in almost all cases, it doesn't indicate where they're going to score on the NSBA test. So that being said, that's why we've aligned our grades the way we have and our grading system the way we have. And sending stuff home as practice, a lot of times my families don't have the background in education to help a child. And it puts the child and the parent kind of behind the 8 ball. So our idea is to try to get almost everything that we need to have done in the course of the day done so that the child doesn't have much practice work sent home with them. Really the 2 core subjects that you get a lot of homework for is math and language arts. Other than that, you shouldn't be seeing a whole lot, unless your child's in all advanced courses. Advanced courses, by their nature, your child is asking for and attempting a very strict curriculum that sometimes requires a little bit more than the average student. And so if your child has, for example, 4 advanced core classes, your child is bitten off a huge bite in the academic realm. And those students sometimes will see a little bit more homework than, or practice, I shouldn't call it homework, more practice than the normal student here at KMS. That all being said, we also try to set up a time for students at the end of the day to help them with this homework or practice work, so to speak, to get licensed teachers in classrooms and licensed professionals that can help children who need intense response to intervention. We call it RTI. They're struggling in a specific skill, for example, their math facts or their order of operations, or in English, knowing the difference between a noun and a verb. Then those kids we try to get into our Tiger Up time to specific tutorials, specific teachers, or in our case room 125, which is managed by administration, where we have our peer tutors that try to help them with those specific type of things. So we have something called Tiger Up time.
I understand, and I see from what you're saying that this is consistent through the grade levels. My child moving from 6th to 7th and 7th to 8th grade will be assessed by the same standards and benchmarks.
Correct, that are specific to that grade level. Maybe a little bit of an explanation about Tiger Up time would probably help in that.
I am curious. My son's been very excited about Tiger Up time and feels it's been very beneficial to him towards the end of the day. Could you tell me a little bit more about the purpose of Tiger Up time?
Well, Tiger Up time is the time for us to assess our entire student body, 6th through 8th. We try to give them short assessments, maybe 10, 15 minutes at the beginning of that period. Kids take it, it's not graded, it's just an assessment to see where they're at, what skills they have, what skill deficits they have, skill needs that they have. And for some parents at the beginning of the school year, we're like, well, you're giving them more work. Then, well, it's not more work, it's a short assessment to see where they're at. And that guides our instruction and lets us know who's going to struggle in that instruction, who needs extra help, and who doesn't. And on the other side of that coin, it also tells us who needs enrichment, who might be able to go a little bit faster than normal and get a little bit more than the average student on our campus. So that's what happens. That's one of the number one things that happens during Tiger Up time. Then the other thing is students are allowed to work on any practice assignments. They're allowed to take their CFAs, redos, math assignment redos during this time. Again, 75% is what we consider a passing or mastery of a common course. So if a student didn't get a 75% on the CFA, then we move them towards that through the makeup program or the redo program, which can happen during Tiger Up time. Students are allowed to read during Tiger Up time. We also have our 4th period homeroom that we allow reading to happen. In fact, we drop everything and read during that 4th period class. But in Tiger Up time, if they have all their homework done and they want to read or study for an exam, studying for an exam is considered reading. It's very good reading, actually. We allow them to do that. Students may receive tutorial work at that time. So each grade level has a team that studies the data that's generated from CFAs and those other assessments. And that team decides where a child needs to be. And they're in teams. And they rotate through the grade level, through each teacher. And then every Monday, teachers get together and look at that data and decide what kids need a little bit extra help. What kids need to be in room 125 for one-on-one peer tutoring. What kids need help when my high schoolers come in to the building levels and ask each teacher, is there anybody who's struggling? Those teachers would assign them a high school tutor at that time, or a building tutor at that time, or send them to a specific teacher who's doing intense RTI. Our resource and special education, math and language arts teachers do that, as well as our core level teachers give intense remediation as well. So that can happen. Those are really the things that should be happening during Tiger Up time. That's why it's kind of really important that my parents don't check kids out or their students out during Tiger Up time. You know, some of my parents will try to check that child out to beat the traffic, thinking Tiger Up time is like a homeroom time. There's a whole lot of good things that happen during Tiger Up time, and by checking your child out early and not allowing them that process, what happens is they don't get the full advantage of Tiger Up time or the reason it's designed that way. So that's one of the shout-outs that I would have to parents is, you know, we understand if you've got a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, or something of that nature, certainly, you know, you need to check the child out. But if you're just checking them out to try to beat the traffic that happens at the end of school, please don't do that. That takes an opportunity away from your child that is very beneficial to them. Any other questions?
No, but I certainly appreciate your time. You've given me a very in-depth understanding of Tiger Up time. My son comes home and talks about it on a daily basis, and now I see the value of this time at the end of the day. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Espinoza. It was nice visiting with you today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.